All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Beneath the Helmet, Season 4, and this is episode number 108. I'm Arjuna George, former fire chief turned podcaster, author, and coach to the fire service. Today, I'm joined with a fire captain, and we're going to talk about everything modern leadership. He's also the author of The Modern Fire Officer, first book, but a new book that just came out, The Modern Fire Officer Building Legacy That Endures. He's also a repeat guest from episode 56, way back to episode 56, Captain Jared Vermeulen. Welcome to the show.
It's time to ignite your soul and unlock your full potential. Join us on Beneath the Helmet, the podcast exploring firefighters' health and wellness. Hosted by retired Fire Chief Arjuna George, our podcast is the perfect place to start your journey towards becoming the best version of yourself. So come on, let's join the conversation and find out what sets your soul on fire.
Well, it's good to be back. It's been nice. You have a great show, and I'm glad you're having me back on. I was, I guess, good enough the first time for a repeat.
Well, I think your first book and your second book, they just resonate with me, right? Because I think it's all about humanizing, and that's one word that I saw you kind of repeat in your book several times, humanizing the fire service or humanizing leadership in general. So it definitely resonates with me. So I think that's why you're back on episode 107. So welcome to the show.
Yeah. The second book is kind of I mean, you're like a poster child for who I'm looking for, someone that is got the emotional IQ, has got the experience. You went up all the way through the ranks, so you've seen the things, you've done the things, and so it's really great that you enjoyed the book, and then you're also able to be one of the pre-reads for me, so you could tell me if I was way off base or not.
No, I think even if I didn't agree with everything, if I didn't, but I believe I did. It's your story, right? It's what your experience
Right.
of leadership and your lens, right? So I kind of enjoy reading other people's books that are about leadership that kind of go against maybe some things that I'm aware of in my own life, right? My own bias towards leadership. So it's always nice to read books that follow in line with what you're thinking, but also, challenge your thinking at the same time, right? So
Right. Yeah. And when you write anything, I'm in sunny South Florida. You're pretty far from me on opposite end of North America, so for me, I feel like a lot of times I'm writing something or thinking about something. I'm just kind of like in this this hole all the way down, far away from everybody. How how is it going to be received across the nation? But I think a lot of the things that face the fire service is the same, because people are the same. It doesn't matter color, creed, any of that stuff. Where we bleed red and we have needs, and we're trying to get the same job done, trying to help people in their worst moments. And just being on this podcast, being on a few others, talking with people around the nation, there's just so much burnout, retention issues, hiring problems, and it's not good. And we got to, like you said, that word humanize, we got to rehumanize the fire service a bit. We got to, get rid of our egos a bit, buckle down, get that inner fuzzies feelings, tap into that a bit, especially because the newer generations, they feel big, and which is good, because you got to do that in this job. But because they feel big, they really are affected by the service in ways that we might not have been, or at least we weren't aware to have been until now, that a lot of that stigma is gone. They're coming right into it where they don't really have a stigma. They're just feeling it full on right away. And so, we're getting into our careers and the later end of our careers where stigma is going away, and it's finally okay to be like, yeah, I'm messed up from that call. But they never had a stigma. There's earlier or later generations, Gen Z, Gen A, whatever, they didn't ever have a stigma. Like, it was okay for them to tell their friends they didn't feel good, whatever. And so they're feeling it right away, and it's like this weird time where we're all feeling things, but it's good. We got to get that stuff out.
yeah, once again, we're human, right? So We have emotions, even if we want to ignore them. We have emotions.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Jared, I'd love to let's start off with a quick little recap of who you are, what brought you to writing this book. Just, for the people who haven't listened to episode 56, who don't know Jared, just a little snapshot of who you are and what brought you to writing this book.
So yeah, I've been a captain for over 10 years. Done a lot of the training through that way. And I think it's become pretty clear with everyone that's in leadership role that really the physical strategies aren't the ones that are tough. It's the soft skills, the nuanced, emotional strategies that you're employing across, the teams that you lead. And going through a lot of that training, seeing all those holes, trying to figure out ways to bridge these gaps between generations to make myself better, to get myself healthy enough to where I can even get to a point where I could help someone try to get to a healthy place too, lead myself so I could lead others. I wrote that first book because I just felt like there was a bit of a gap there on that soft skill gap. And then the second book is really the building legacy that endures. It's more of like to take off from that one. And it really was clear to me after putting that first book out that there was a downward trend with the fire service, in my opinion, and at least in North America, where burnout was going up, retention issues were going up, hiring interest was going down, right? Like it was a bad trend, so to speak. Not necessarily something where we're falling off a cliff, although, I mean, downward trend is still a downward trend. We get to the bottom at some point. And a lot of it was kind of the same thing where people didn't feel safe in where they were for whatever reason, whether because they weren't being protected by their leadership or they didn't feel that they could be themselves, and they're leaving the fire service. And I mean, if you just look at firefighter suicide alone, that it takes more lives than line of duty deaths. I mean, that should stop everyone cold. I mean, if there was a tool on all our trucks, like say suddenly we figured out the Halligan, right, killed everybody. We were to move that thing like that, it'd be gone tomorrow on every truck in America. It'd be gone. But with these soft skills and these mental health issues, it's not as easy yet to point to say it's that thing, but there's not that visceral reaction either to where it was like, we got to figure this out now. And I've been for a few years now the peer support coordinator for my department, and it really opened my eyes to in the internal struggle that a lot of people are having. It's you think it's at this level, and it's really at a much higher level, and it's the people that you would never guess are struggling, the people that you rely on the most. And one thing that really kind of caught me was when Bill Gustin passed away down here. He's one of our most famous guys, down here in Florida. And I felt like there just wasn't enough reaction with it. People were upset, sure, but I would think that, if someone like that takes his own life, I thought for sure, like even some of the people that are giving pushback on this mental health stuff and not wanting to allocate the funds to it, we're gonna be like, okay, you got us. This is crazy. And it didn't really push the needle that much. And it was really surprising to me and telling in a bad way. And it just kind of made me want to write this book. And as you know, this book is more about the systems that are failing us and putting us in these situations. And those systems do that because they don't put the firefighter first, right? It puts everything else first. And that's really just wrong. We have to put the firefighter first that's providing the service, right? So if we want that service on the ground to be up here, those firefighters that are holding that up, we got to hold them up, right? Someone's got to help. And if we keep adding weight, right, to them, they keep adding more services and more services, what's going to happen? They can't hold that anymore. We have to have support systems that will help them to support that. And we just haven't done it, really, in my opinion. I mean, across the board, we do add like certain things here and there, but a lot of it's like really band-aid type things. There's some very progressive departments, which is great, but most aren't, and most are not supporting firefighters in the way they need to be supported. And over the last few decades, even within my career, I mean, and I'm sure within yours, and for those listening, you can think like how much stuff has been added since you got hired. I mean, my protocol, my EMS protocols when I first got hired were like, I don't know, maybe 25 pages or something like that. Now it's literally an EMS manual. So I mean, right there, like what you're responsible for, and to do it perfectly the first time under duress, is a lot. But what systems have we incorporated then to support you doing that thing? We've added more, but what systems, have we added in? And like I say in the book, it's like you're building a NASCAR, but you leave the stock motor in it. And you gotta, it all has to be built up together.
Or you're building a NASCAR and you don't have a trained pit crew.
Yeah,
So you
or
have this
that
beautiful
yeah.
$1 billion car, but you have nobody trained and skilled and supported
Yep.
to get that car back on the road in 10 seconds, right?
Exactly. What happens? The wheels fall off, right? You can only run it so far before the tires give up. Exactly.
So you mentioned a couple of times the word soft leadership. It's kind of gets under my skin, that word, because I think it's honestly one of the hardest skills to learn. Have you come across a better term for that, or what do you use?
For instead of like soft skills?
Mm-hmm. I think it resonates with people because people understand what you mean, but it also
Right. Yeah.
reinforces that it's a soft skill.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I mean, it really should be, the soft skills should be the ones on the street. Those are the easy ones. The hard skills are the ones where you're trying to figure out emotions, and you're trying to figure out somebody's motivations, and what they need and what they don't need, and how they learn and how they don't learn. Those are the hard skills. So really we have it backwards. It should be the soft skills on the street, because those are easy. You can show someone how to connect toes together and open a bale, and brace themselves rather simply. But to try to really reach someone that's having an attitude issue, or really reach someone that might be having a mental health issue, or whatever it may be, that's hard. So I get you there. It's just kind of repeating the same semantics, but yeah, if I had to rename it, I guess it would be better just to call it emotional IQ, because it's really like an intelligence. And with all intelligence, you're not born with it. You have to, someone's got to teach you. You got to go to school. You got to read the books, and do the tests and do all the things, whatever. And then you have intelligence. And it's the same thing, with emotional intelligence. So there's nothing soft or easy about it. It's actually the opposite. And it's so difficult that people usually avoid it, because it makes you very uncomfortable. And there's a couple stories in the book about avoidance, and like something like someone that you think is using a substance, or you think might be suicidal. If you want to talk about a scary situation where you're like, when do I talk to him? Do I talk to him? I don't know what to say. What do I say? How do I introduce this subject? And all those things. I mean, it's tough. Most people much rather work 10 house fires in a row than like approach someone
100%.
that they think has like a mental health issue. So yeah, there's nothing soft about it. So I get that. Yeah.
Perfect. So Jared, going from book number 1, Modern Fire Officer, to the second book, any kind of things kind of pop up for you that you've kind of learned about leadership that you didn't know when you're writing the first book, that kind of, ooh, man, that's a change of view or a change of idea or anything like that from book 1 to book 2?
Yeah, I think one of them was I have a lot more focus on not just the person, but myself. So there's two main things. One of them, I didn't realize how much sleep and those like personal choices have on you. Um, in the first book, I talk more about like qualities, right? The quality of sacrifice, and the quality of humility, and those things, and self-control. And but like, it's really hard to do those things when you're running on no sleep, and you're drinking too much, or your self-esteem sucks. It makes those things like really difficult. And one of the other ones too that I read about is when you're just constantly keeping yourself bombarded by stimulation. And I don't mean just like energy drinks. I mean like you never turn your phone off for 2 seconds, or you keep answering emails, and you keep this constant like influx of stimulation where your brain can never just calm down, and then you get this fog, right? And I realized that a few years ago, I broke my leg. I was on light duty, and I went to a sleep course, which sounds crazy. You go to a whole day to learn how to sleep, and
I'd love to do that.
God, oh man, it was awesome. You kind of go into those things. You're firefighter mentality. You're like, oh, this is some bull crap, and man, was that like a boon to just like my leadership, just because I was able to get in a healthier place. Like when you're not exhausted, and you're not drinking energy drinks too late, so you can go to sleep, and you have like more of a routine, and the brain fog goes away. And when you learn to give your mind a moment to reflect, to be mindful, then you can let gratitude set in, and you can reframe the issues that you're facing. Because when you allow your brain to relax, then you leave room for imagination, which becomes innovation. And that's so important. And I didn't realize that. So that was something that I realized in between, that how much really like physically, not just sleep, but just how you treat yourself physically, and mental health, all that stuff, how much that does truly matter. The other thing that I realized is how much validation matters and the first book kind of dances around the subject a bit, because it talks about treating people well, and understanding their role in the fire department, that kind of thing. But to truly use validation, not just for maybe in a discipline situation, or an attitude change situation, but just in general, because people deserve it. How moving that is for people to become motivated, to feel part of the crew, to really know that their place is secure, and find that safety in that. And I think that's so important, just to call it out, to call out everyone in a positive way, and validate their place on the team and on the crew. And what that does is it really creates that team cohesion. And then a lot of the issues, the generational issues, really seem to evaporate, because everyone feels like their place is secure. But it does really work well too when you're trying to overcome issues with discipline or attitude or whatever it may be. Because if people don't feel completely secure, then they are going to have the most severe defense network in place to stop listening to anything that you have to say. But if you can let them feel that, yes, your place here is secure, like you are okay, we can get past this thing, or we can talk about it openly, and you're still going to be fine, and you're still going to be here, and we still value you, then man, the sky's the limit. And like focusing more on that, I think, was something that I definitely learned since that first book.
Yeah, those are two key leadership traits for sure. And I think going back to your first thought about having capacity, so you don't have those mental brain fogs, to be more creative was the word that popped in my mind. I believe you used a different word. But just looking at, before the show, we were talking about your 3D printing, your music, your drums, your guitars. And I'm assuming that's all flourished as well after learning that capacity allows you to
Oh
be
yeah.
more creative, which fills you up, which gets you ready to go back to work.
Yeah, it reinvigorates you. And music is proven to really open your mind as well, because it's another language really. And when you play music, I actually watched a YouTube video on it. I'll have to send it to you, but it literally says in there that it will help to disperse brain fog as well. And it when you're playing, because you're doing a few different creative things at once, it really like kind of opens your mind. It allows more of those synapses to fire in different directions, create new connections. So yeah, music, anything really creative. I don't know, painting, if you want to draw with your kids, color, get a coloring book with your kids even. I mean, like my wife will do that. She'll get like an adult coloring book, and the kids will have their coloring books, and they have like really nice set of markers, and they'll do that together at quiet time, have the TV off so that they can calm down for bed. And I mean, we can do the same thing. It works for kids, it works for us. Read a book, have a routine, and wind down and really prioritize yourself. That's such a key piece to not just overall health, your health, to prioritize yourself in a healthy way, not become selfish, especially if you have a family, a spouse, but to prioritize your sleep and your health that way, to where you can be in a position to where you can feel good, just feel good, and then you can be in a position to actually lead others in a useful way.
For myself, I lost all of those hobbies that filled me up and flex that creativity muscle. And since my pivot in my career, it's just flourished in different areas of my life, right? And it's filled me up every time. Sure, it's taken up energy, it's taken up time, but it actually fills my battery versus draining it, right?
Yeah, I'm sure like coaching too for you, like
Oh,
how
100%,
much that like just boosts you, and
100%.
the self-esteem and helping someone else. I mean, that's really what makes service so amazing, is the meaning in the service. Because when we do things for ourselves, it's fleeting, right? When we make, even if it's something amazing, we accomplish something, if it's just you look around, there's no one there to share it with, right? And it's very fleeting. But when we serve others, right, when we build them up, then we have a shared narrative, we have a shared experience with somebody else. And that's where meaning is, that's where meaning and purpose is. And that's why there's so much meaning and purpose in the job that we do, because of that, because there's a shared narrative with the community. And that's such an important thing for firefighters to understand. And it's also touched on in the book, is that's how you beat burnout, is you break that cycle, you get back to the basics, do your good customer service, and pat yourself on the back for it, because you've done a good thing. It's okay to say, hey, I'm a good person for doing that thing, even though you're paid. Sure, that's fine, but not everyone's doing that thing. There's a lot of people not signing up to do that job for a reason, because it's hard. And you've signed up to do the hard thing, and you've done it, and you've done it well. So pat yourself on the back and restore, your meaning and your purpose, and that brings the happiness that you need to beat burnout.
Yeah, that meaningful and purpose is sometimes double-edged sword. It's great during your career, but the fire service is definitely one of those ones that people are so entrenched in the fire service that when it comes to retirement, they've lost that passion, that purpose in life. And I see a lot of people struggle in post-retirement, or forced to retire due to an illness or PTSD or whatever that looks like, to leave the job and then, oh man, I've got a huge gap in my life, right?
Yeah, that's why, like, that's just really difficult situations, where that's where banding together as a brotherhood, as a community in fire, to not allow those people just to disappear or to slip through the cracks, to figure out meaningful ways for them to be involved in the department if they want to be still, or however we could do that through our peer support, wellness. If we have an exit plan for our retirees, or for someone that's maybe suddenly disabled, having a correct exit plan, maybe adding them back in for training, adding them on the peer support team. We have retirees that are on our peer support team so that they can help other retirees. You know what I mean? So there's not, it's not like they got to just go and disappear. Like there's plenty of stuff they could do. All that institutional knowledge that they have, don't let it disappear. They know the department, bring them back, have them teach classes or whatever. Who knows? You know, there's things for them to do. But being aware of that is the difference, and that's the difference that makes people stay, because people feel that they're seen and not discarded. And that's what, you know, the ceremony, tradition, all that is there for a reason. It's the meaning in it to show that it's not just that, you know, hey, good job on that call. It's like, no, we're going to make sure you know it, that we're going to, you know, make sure the department knows it, that the community knows it, and that we want you to continue to do it, continue to put the uniform on and feel good about what you do, and that you're not just going to be completely forgotten immediately. You're not forgotten now, you know. So there's a lot to it. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, you know, to try to do all those things, but the juice is worth the squeeze if you want a healthy career, right? If you want a healthy career for the people that you serve, and if you want, you know, the people that are coming to your home that could quite possibly, you know, deliver emergent care in a serious time, to be healthy, to do that mentally, you know, all that stuff matters, and it matters more than ever.
Couldn't agree more. We kind of started the conversation about the human side of the fire service, and we all know there's strengths and weaknesses of the traditional paramilitary style of organizations.
Right.
But you're putting that twist of the modern officer on there. What would you say the difference is, and what some of the pros and cons of traditional leadership that we're all fairly used to up to, you know, the new generation, and then what the modern officer looks like, and maybe some of the pros and cons about what that looks like?
I think everything had its time. You know, there was a time where that traditional leadership worked well, I'm sure. But we've I think moved on a bit. We've changed as a society. We've changed in our generational differences, and those things have to change with it. And I think a big pitfall of the traditional leadership is that you think that you only have to wear one hat. You know, you wear your command presence hat, and that works on scene, that works at the firehouse, that works in the meeting for discipline, that works in the, you know, the promotional testing process, that works when you see your firefighter off duty, you know, and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't anymore. It might have used, and really in the past, like you know, when I was first hired, I definitely did not grow up in any type of paramilitary style household. Like super Italian, you know what I mean? So just like loud and obnoxious or whatever. There's no, you know what I mean? So I was not used to that at all. But you know, like for me, I don't know any better either. That's just the way it is, you know. But it can't be anymore for the amount that we're shouldering. So not only has that become kind of stale, but we've also taken on much more. So a lot of that that style of leadership was taking place, I feel like in firehouses where they didn't even run medicals. You know, they didn't do half of what we're doing now. I mean, 80% really of what we're doing now, you know, in a lot of places. There's still some places that, you know, they might be fire only. So yeah, maybe you can get away with that type of traditional leadership in that setting where, okay, you're mostly just going to fire, is fine. You know, but now 80% of what we do, if not more, is medically based, where you're seeing a lot more stuff than you're ever going to see on fires. You know, that can be mentally taxing in a mental health way. So, you know, really, you know, if it had its time, that time has passed, and now we've moved on, and we've taken on all these roles and these skill sets that beg for more, and we have to give it more. We have to understand that in our more modern times that the job has changed a lot. We continue to absorb many other professions expertise in different ways on scene, to where now we're, it's not just that we might do 3 different things that professionals, like, you could call a professional for. Like if there's, a vehicle that's got a child locked in it, we have to not only gain access to that child, like get the door open, but then provide the care, then transport that child, then possibly even move that vehicle for the parent, whatever. There's like 10 different things on a scene you could do on just something basic like that, where, we have to wear many hats just for the skill set. And you could say the same thing about someone that's got a leaking hot water heater. Got to go to the panel, turn that off, stop the leak, squeegee it out. Maybe, an elderly woman fell because of it. And you're working, maybe it could be a trauma alert because she's older and she's got a long bone fracture. Who knows? We're doing 10 different things at once, and all those things have a cost. It has a bandwidth cost on the provider, because we're expected to do all of them perfect and in changing environments. And that's just basic calls. That's nothing. And so the support for that has to go up. If we ask for you to do more, then there should be a correlation in support, but there also has to be a correlation in leadership, and that leadership has to change with it. And we have to get serious about all of the strain that puts on people, and what that looks like, and how many different hats you need to wear. And that's the emotional intelligence is. It takes, you got to learn it. You have to study it, and you have to do your best to employ it.
I think putting it in practice is the most challenging thing, right? Is that the EQ, trying to put that into practice, because we can read books all day long, but put it into practice, right? And as we know, most of our conflicts, most of our HR issues, most of our culture challenges, all due to dysfunctional teamwork, not on calls,
right,
back at the station, after hours, whatever that looks like, right? So
yeah, and that's why in the book, in this one, I talk about self-esteem a lot, because that's really the crux of a lot of the issues that you face as a leader, when you're not confident in truly, like, in yourself. Then you're going to do a lot of things that are not good. Simply enough said, you're going to be triggered in ways that you shouldn't be, because you're unconfident in certain areas. You might not say things that you should because you're not confident, and you're worried about your own vulnerability. So that's such an important piece of the leadership puzzle, to where you're in a healthy enough place in your own mind to say, I can put myself out there, and if whatever comes back, that's okay, because I like me. And that's a really difficult thing, and it's a thing I think a lot of people don't realize is so important to leadership, is that, and that's how you can really put away ego, and you can put away bravado, and you can put away a lot of the stuff, is when, like, no, I'm very comfortable with myself, and I'm doing this best thing that I can. And if it's not good enough, we can talk about it, and I can be vulnerable, and I can talk about these things that are difficult, because I'm okay with me. And then once you're in that place, you can help others to be okay with themselves, but you can't if you're not. So and that's hard to do, and that's a work in progress. That that you could have like the best day of your life, and the next day that could crash and burn, and then you're starting from scratch. So that's a constant battle, but it's such an integral piece to leadership, especially now.
maybe for the junior officer or a firefighter that's wants to be an officer one day, how do you get to be more confident in yourself? Is there any tips that Jared has been successful with to kind of play with that and become a little bit more comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah. Well, first off, you got to be honest with yourself, and know that no one's perfect, and then stop trying to pick people that you think are and comparing yourself to them. You also need to figure out who you're surrounding yourself with. If you're surrounding yourself with people that are going to make you feel like garbage, then yeah, you're never going to get your self-confidence up. You need to get around people that are going to help you build yourself instead of tear you down. And so There's that internal environment and there's the external environment. The internal environment is how you treat yourself. Would you treat someone you really love that way? Would you yell at them and call them stupid, or degrade them or whatever? Would you, give them a second chance, give them some grace? Probably. So give yourself the same, and take the win, be honest when it's not a win, but then look at that as an opportunity to do better. Like every time I fail, I try to change the perspective on it and say, yeah, that, obviously that sucked. I wish that went better, but I'm going to research it, whatever it was. And the next time I get the opportunity to show that skill set or whatever it is, I'm going to blow that thing out of the water. You better believe it. So now I have a purpose, right? I'm not just scared of something because I failed it. Now I have a purpose and I have a plan to overcome it. And that's a big deal. And then when you do those things, and it doesn't have to be massive, it can be small increments. When you do those things, you take the win, you reflect on it. And if you're the type of person, that needs to write that down in a journal or on a checklist, then fine. At least then you have a transcript of your journey, and you can look back and be like, yeah, I'm a better person. And then that external environment is people that are going to help you along the way, and is a net positive. That's what we need to look for, and surround ourselves with that. And sometimes that's hard because there's people that could be, that we've surrounded ourselves with for years, that we feel like we have a connection to, that we can't lose. And that's just not true, because if they're not helping you to be a better person, then they don't care about you. And it's time to move on. And it's not something that you have to tell them, I hate you now, or something like that. It's just start to distance yourself, and if they ask, be honest. Hey, I'm trying to do this thing. You kind of make me feel this way. And if that changes, then we'll reevaluate. But until then, I'm on this path and I feel better about myself. And as you build that self-esteem and self-confidence, all that stuff, a lot of the minutia just kind of evaporates, and you're left with someone that you really want to be. And that's a superpower in this world. It truly is a superpower.
Couldn't agree more. Your crews are lucky to have you as a captain, that's for sure.
I hope so. They like me. At least they don't lie to me in front of me.
Yeah. You talked in your book about leadership doesn't get easier as you promote. It gets less visible. So expand on that a little bit, because I think that's probably something for those officers that want to be one day an officer or a chief might not see that weight that is carried because it's invisible sometimes.
Right. Yeah. So, tactical skill sets are very easily identifiable, right? You have a new guy that forces a door really well. Yeah, I just saw that. Great. But as you promote, it becomes more about the relationships and the care that you put into those relationships. And anyone that's ever had like a relationship, that they cared about, that's not going well, how much you agonize over it. Right now times that by your entire crew. There could be a lot of agony there when you're trying to build these relationships. You're trying to build rapport, or you're trying to wrangle some attitudes, and a lot of that agonizing, it doesn't happen outward. And usually when you should be doing a lot of this stuff one-on-one, especially if it's not positive, because if you're doing anything in front of a group where you're going to degrade someone, then you are going to really set yourself up for a major failure. So what people see is only that one-on-one, right? So especially if you're in a chief's position where now you have a lot of people coming to you, not everyone uses the chain of command for every single thing. That's just not how it works. And everyone, all they see is their conversation with you, their rapport that they built with you. They don't see the 100 other ones, 200 other ones, 300 other ones that person is trying to maintain, right? Because usually they're not like some psychopath, hopefully, that's just like, treating everyone like garbage. I hope they're trying to maintain their own rapport. They're trying to, maintain their principles, and they're a person. And people don't see that. They don't understand that, how widespread that is once you get into that higher level of everyone that's there that you're trying to hopefully hold up. So that's where it becomes, less visible, and that's where empathy comes into play, and that's where transparency needs to happen. And I talk about that a bit, in the book, as where if you have a mentorship program, that should extend through the ranks. Like if you're especially if you're looking to become an officer, even if it's a junior officer, you should know every rank above you. Spend a day with them. To me, if I want a mentorship program to work, I want them to know what I do. I want them to know what my boss does, what his boss does. Hell, I mean, if he could spend a day with a city councilor, what I'm saying? I doubt that ever happened. But what I'm saying is the most transparency that you can have it. Right along with our fire and life safety, spend a day in the office with the EMS division chief, see what he goes through, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, wow, now that leadership becomes visible. Now I see exactly what the heck's going on. And now I get why I have to check this box every morning, or, this protocol that, makes what I thought made no sense, or whatever it may be. And then when you get to that position, and now you have firefighters underneath you, if you're a junior officer, you go to more of a senior role, whatever it may be, you already have an idea of what is taking place, what has taken place, and you can dispel, rumors and all that kind of stuff, because you've been there and you've seen what that leadership look like. You've seen the things that they're dealing with, and you can have a level of empathy there that extends past this, short-sightedness.
I love that, because a lot of departments that I'm familiar with, they have mentorship programs for recruits, brand new members, 1-year members coming in, getting a feel of everything, but it tapers off or is non-existent after that, right? So I love that intro into the different ranks and moving up through the fire service. So in your day-to-day as a captain, how much time do you spend on building the human side of your culture, your team, your department, versus doing stuff, tactics?
It's pretty much it's always happening. When you're building relationships, it's always happening. And it might not be that I'm having a full-blown conversation with somebody, I'm trying to tap in, that's this guy's motivation, I'm going to break him down. You know what I mean? It's not nothing. Yeah, interrogate him every moment, like, what are you thinking right now, kind of thing. But it's more about observation too, where it might not be that we're having any type of in-depth conversation, but it's about observing what's taking place and how it's taking place, and the nuance of the crew and their relationship with each other. So, I mean, even something as simple as soon as you walk in, you have the 2 shifts, maybe a roll call, like around the table, just like even kind of seeing like how they're treating each other. The body language that's taking place. You might have someone that's like, they're not sitting at the table. They're sitting off, they're in the corner, they're whatever. Or you have maybe like a couple people talking super quietly. They don't want anyone to hear what they're talking about. You have certain things going on. Those things matter. They might not matter a lot, or they might matter a lot. Who knows? But it's observing those things, those nuances, and then, kind of building an idea of crew relationships, your relationship, so that you can really reach people when you speak to them, because they know that you care about them. Because, for example, you could be doing that while you're checking out the truck training or something. So now you fast forward from the morning and you're checking out the truck, and you kind of bump into one of the people that were talking really quietly, and say, hey, I saw you were talking with so-and-so, you're a little intense, is everything okay? Is there something, is there something wrong, something I need to know? If I don't, it's fine, help me help you, and they might be like, oh, I can't believe you saw that. Yeah, dude, this thing's happening, my something's wrong with my kid. We're not sure. We just went to the doctor yesterday. I'm really freaked out. Okay, yeah, that's good information. I'm glad I, realized that and you talked to me, because now this is changing the way that the day is going to go. Or it could be like, oh, don't worry about it. It was some little thing. We handled it. Okay, no problem. But it's that type of stuff that's happening all the time. And if you're not aware and you don't observe and you don't kind of follow up on things that could be useful, then you could really lose big later on. And the more you don't, the more you let that kind of stuff slip, the less likely anyone's really going to truly care about you as a leader, because you're not putting them first. That's just the way of the world. And all that stuff happens simultaneously with the things that are going on in the day. Whether you're checking out the truck, you're doing the training, you're running the call, you're doing whatever. It's as a leader, and that's why it's less visible, is you're doing that thing. Well, maybe those that are, when you were a young firefighter, how often did you look around and be like, oh, I wonder what the captain's thinking? I wonder how his day went. Probably not. I mean, I don't remember doing that. I mean,
Nope.
You know what I mean? But a good captain will be looking at that new firefighter and think, wonder how they're doing. You know what I mean? I remember last shift, they kind of messed this one little thing up that's not normal for them. They're probably really, a little gun shy right now. They know the test is coming up for their probationary period. Let me go ahead and tell them, hey, you're doing good, bud. Hang in there. Okay. You're good. Give them a little, attaboy or whatever, build them up. It's those kinds of things that set you apart and make the crew feel safe enough to bond, to be themselves, and to admit when something's not right, or like something that you need to know. And that's invaluable. But again, that all that kind of relationship, that kind of observance, it happens all the time. And that's what is difficult. And that's what the non-visible portion of, senior leadership is, when it's done right, that's hard to do. It's exhausting. And, but it's worth it. It's worth every bit of it, especially when you have a super healthy environment in the firehouse where everyone's excited to be there and happy and doing a good job. And then what happens is I know then when we're going on calls that they're going to do a good job. So that makes a lot of the pressure I feel, that performance anxiety, that like we're going to get on a hard scene, that it's going to go okay, that we're going to do this thing. And then, wow, now I feel a weight's lifted off me. So the work isn't, it's not just where I'm just loaded with this, emotional burden, but it also comes off, in better care and knowing that the team will perform.
And I think it develops trust, and trust, as we know, is the foundation for any effective team, psychological safe team. Trust has to be built there. So when you're taking care of your people in the small things, when the big thing happens, they're going to come to you because they trust you, right?
Yep. No, and they know that they've been validated, so that their place is safe.
Yep. So you talked about, firefighters doing something wrong, the officer looking out for it and how they would address it. Discipline's always one of those words that gives everyone the heebie-jeebies, because it's like, oh, I hate conflict. I want to avoid conflict at all expense. Discipline's always bad, bad, bad. What's your view on discipline, holding people accountable? What's your thoughts on that?
I like to think of discipline as redirection, and we're going to direct you to a better outcome. A lot of times, in my experience, discipline is not necessary in a lot of ways. And the unfortunate reality is, a lot of systems are built into a fear type system, where it's like, well, we gotta make sure that this discipline happens, because if it happens again, then we need to make sure we're in progressive discipline, because then obviously this person's a problem and we're going to need to get rid of them, kind of a thing. Where that's just not true in my experience most of the time. I mean, yeah, there are some bad eggs here and there, sure, and we can deal with those people, appropriately. If we see that, we can start, progressive discipline whenever, if you realize that this is truly an attitude issue and not, or and not something that's an underlying issue that we should be helping them with. In my experience, most issues really come from bad policy or bad training. A lot of it, and you can sprinkle in attitude towards it. But really, when you have a disciplinary issue, the best thing is to really investigate it truly and see, okay, something as simple as someone being late, right? You were late one time in 10 years, in private sector, you would be applauded. People would be like, you were late once in 10 years. That is amazing. How did you accomplish this thing? Give this person an award. You know what I mean? We treat it like they're going to, the next call, they're going to like give the wrong dose of medication and kill a child on purpose because now they're AWOL, and it, some of that, we have to take the full picture in context. Okay. Is this person, has ever been late before? What's their attitude? Why, maybe they just went through a divorce and now they didn't realize they have to pick their kid up right at shift change or something. Who knows what it could be, and why crush someone, further in that way? Or if it's a policy issue, then maybe we need to revamp the policy, or if it's training, we need to train better on something. And that's on us then as leaders. That's not on them. We can't force people to work within broken systems and then get mad, that the system, that they couldn't work in a broken system. That's not going to produce excellence. And I think too, there's a compliance issue that goes along with that, where there is no policy, there is no rule, there is nothing that is going to overcome thousands of years of human psychology. There will always be a few that don't do the thing in some way. But what do they do? Look at that. Like, are they rock stars at this thing, but this one thing, they keep falling short on this thing. All right, well, work on that. But yeah, you're a rock star in every other way. That's custom leadership, to where it's like, we're not just going to judge you by the one thing. Everyone is different in many ways. Everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses. And that's a very difficult portion of leadership. And what changes it from management is that management has a rule and applies the rule. And leadership understands the concept behind the rule and engages that person thoughtfully surrounding it. And they can do more custom framework for that person, knowing what they need. And the ticket to that is being able to have the respect from the group to where you have an issue and you can treat each person differently and everyone still respects you. That is how you know that you are a good leader right there, because then they know that he cares about me, he cares about that person, he cares about that person, or she cares about that person, whatever, so much that they're going to see you or see me, right? And they're going to help the thing that I need, right? Not just hit me with a rule. And there is safety right there. And that's a very difficult thing. And it takes a lot of trust. And it takes a lot of trust, not just for the people that you're leading, but for the people that are empowering you to do it, right? So you need the trust from your leadership. So if you have officers, one of my big things is to give people curated gray area, right? We want to train people to apply concepts so that they can help people to grow. We don't want compliance officers, so to speak. If I just want you to go and give discipline all the time, there's certain things, yeah, it will be discipline. But if there's places where we can allow a leader to lead, we should do that. And that's very difficult. And it's not simple, but nothing that we do is simple. We have to take on those risks. And we have to allow that leadership to take place. And that happens through mentorship, right? If you're just a wild card to me, if I'm a chief and you're my, captain of the station, you're just a wild card to me. That's on me. I should know you. I should have mentored you. I should figure out what the heck you're going to do. Like, if I allow you to say, hey, I'm going to let you handle this issue, I'm going to send it back, right? I'm going to let you handle this issue at the station level. I should have faith in you because I mentored you, right? If I didn't do that, shame on me. And that's an issue that we are seeing in the fire service, is that unfortunately, whether it's because of attrition or whatever, people move into those roles, the mentorship just doesn't line up or whatever it may be. And then because of that, the trust isn't there because we haven't built it. And we have to build that to allow for leadership to take place instead of management. The other side to the discipline, which I was getting at with compliance, is again, there's just going to be people that don't comply. But like adding more rules to that rule set to try to gain this 100% compliance is just not going to happen. Like we have to understand that there will be exceptions to the rule and then apply leadership to those exceptions. So instead of trying to bog it down with, okay, this is my policy rule set, if I just add these little extras, then we can get those guys or girls that aren't following this thing. And then, then everything will be perfect. But it's like, it won't be perfect. So let's just agree that the perfection is not going to come. But what will we like? Will we like 98% compliance or 97 compliance on this out of 1,000 firefighters in this department? That's pretty damn good. I could hang my hat on that, and then we could maybe find some, better ways forward. And sometimes the policy just sucks. Just get rid of it, or kind of come at it from a different perspective. Make it a win. I was going to give discipline, but instead I'm going to empower that person that failed the thing to do training on it. I'm going to give you you listen, bud, you really messed up this protocol. You forgot this thing. I'm going to give you a choice. You can do a training on it for the department, or you can receive discipline. Which one would you like to do? And you could coach that person and be like, hey, like you could do this whole training thing. You wouldn't have any discipline at all. And you could, help everyone to get better at the same time. Most likely, if you coached them up, they might choose that. Yeah, I'll do the training then. Okay, great. Now what do I have? I have buy-in. I don't have someone that's just pissed off because they just received paperwork. So how can we reframe a lot of this stuff when a lot of it, like most of the time, doesn't matter? It's just pissing people off when they receive paperwork. Like you're AWOL. Like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like I messed up. It's like the first time I've ever been AWOL in 15 years. And it's nope. Here you go. It's your paperwork. We're really sad. Blah 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 about you. Okay, but can we reframe this? Can we say like, hey, why did you mess it up? Was it, oh well, this didn't send me like a text alert, or maybe I could have done this better. Okay, find out 10 reasons how you could maybe save yourself from AWOL next time. Write me up a whole memo note. I'm going to send it out to the department. So anyone that wants to apply those little like life hacks can do it, and then maybe we'll save someone else from being AWOL.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Great idea. Yeah.
So like, how can we turn this thing into a win? All around. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's so much room for that kind of thinking, and we just don't do it. But we do it for like our kids. We do it for our family. But why don't we do it for our fire family? We figure out ways to humanize it. That's, like you said, that word. That's how we humanize it.
Yeah, you're never going to get a firefighter more well-trained on a subject if they are teaching it. Right. Once they start teaching it, they're going to be the experts in that field. So if it's a weakness in their repertoire of skills, then they're going to be experts in that in no time, right?
Exactly.
In your book, you mentioned concepts endure, rules expire, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here. Mind just expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's we want to know why we're doing something, right? When you really understand the problem, then you can kind of extemporaneously work on that problem, right? So what I mean is, if you're a mechanic, and you have a truck brought in, and the guy says, all you know how to do is change the spark plug, right? And he's like, yeah, that cylinder is misfiring. Okay, I know what my one rule is. I change the spark plug, right? I do that, it's still misfiring. Now I'm toast, right? I've done my one thing that I know. But if I understand the motor, right, if the concept behind it, okay, not only is it also the spark plug, but it's also, the distributor, then maybe that's it. Maybe this is it. Maybe. So then you actually have a flow sheet, right? When you have a concept, because you understand the problem as a whole, right? It's very colorful, your understanding, instead of monochromatic. And rules are just monochromatic. They just apply this one thing, this one solution, and that's it. When a concept allows you to find many solutions, it allows you to, apply, reasoning, intelligence, logic to the issue, and not just human behavior, right? Yeah. Because human behavior is not black and white at all. It's completely the opposite. So, and trying to make a rule for everything is insane. I mean, you could even, if you wanted to look up how many, just like, if maybe for you it's a province, or for state for us or whatever, how many state statutes are there just in my state? It's like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of, because there just can't be enough rules. There's so much nuance to life, that you could just keep adding all these rules. And that's what we've done. It's like, there's so many rules, and then you can't remember them all, right? But if you have a concept, you don't have to remember all this stuff. You can understand the machine and you can get it to work. And that's why concepts endure and rules expire. Because once we understand the issue, then we can have multiple avenues of finding the solution.
Once again, flexing that creativity, right? Thinking outside the box. We call it burning the box. Yeah. We like to burn the box. We don't just think outside of it. So to kind of wrap up our conversation, which has been awesome, I want to kind of pick your brain on, from doing all your research and just your experience in the past, what's one thing that firefighters expect, need, want from their officers?
I would think consistency, but positive consistency. So you can't be consistently negative. So I'll say consistently positive. So once they understand that, exactly who you're going to be, and there's, it's not Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. Like, this is who you are. This is what you like. This is the expectations, because you're consistent in those things, and you're positive, then that's a safe place, because then they know they're not just going to be, their spot's going to be like blown up, and some random thing's going to happen, and you're not going to just lash out for no reason, or whatever it may be. That their world is whole, and they know what to expect, and that's a big deal when you know what to expect, and it's a positive thing. Heck yeah, that sounds great. That's why people keep going back to Disney World, because they know that it's going to be positive, and they know what to expect. So I think in the same way, if we can create an environment that way, where, our firefighters are driving into work and they know what to expect and it's positive, yeah, they're going to love it.
Sweet. All right. So how about, from your experience, what do officers want from their chiefs?
So what we want, so really what everyone wants is culture, right? And I believe that the highest level of firehouse leadership is the one that creates that culture, and we are the ones that define what that service delivery is on the street. We're where the rubber hits the road. That being said, it behooves upper leadership to remember that, and to give us the tools to succeed, not take them away. And that's going to take a lot of healthy communication. If you look at the fire service like an hourglass, right? Like where you turn and the sand comes through, the officers are right in the middle, right? Where it then funnels through and then goes back. That's where all the friction happens, right? That's where all the sand has to go. So you have your upper leadership, and you have the firefighters on the line. And those officers at that high level in the firehouse, they're there, right in the middle. That's where all the information is going up and down. So we got to help those, at that highest friction point. If we want that information going down, we want that information going up. So upper leadership really needs to work closely with that middle leadership and really listen to what is happening on the street, really listen to what their needs are and what their needs aren't, and really open lanes of transparency so that they understand why things are happening so that they can deliver that message to the boots on the ground. Because if there's like a crushing amount of checklists every morning, if there's, certain things going on that's like, what the heck are we doing this for? Let them know. There's probably a reason. You're trying to, get better staffing. You're trying to prove that you need that new apparatus, or maybe put another station into being, for the city, whatever it may be. But let them know. Like, then, okay, yeah, I'm going to check that box, because I'd like to make more money or have more firefighters or a better truck. So all that has a lot to do with, it's just communication and transparency. But at the same time, there has to be honesty, to where if you ask, and you don't know, or like, oh, I forgot, you don't really need to check that box, or I don't even know why, get rid of it. Get rid of it. And then don't be an ask hole, right? Either. So if you ask, hey, what does this tool work? Or what do you need, or whatever, and then you completely ignore it, then you're an ask hole, right? Because don't ask if you don't want to know the answer, or employ some type of fix, or at least engage with it to say, hey, I hear you, I'd love for that to happen, but look at this budget constraint, that might not happen for a while, but I would love for that to happen, and I'm glad you let me know about that issue. I feel like the officers at the station are holding a lot of that weight, and it behooves the upper leadership to work closely with them to help them form that culture and care for the firefighters that are beneath them.
Yeah, one of the most powerful questions that I used to ask my firefighters when I did like my annual kind of sit down with them was, what's one thing we can stop doing that we don't need to do anymore? What's one thing that's not working? It's just wasting our time. And the things that would come up in those conversations of things that we should stop doing, not start doing, was pretty eye-opening, right? So it's a great question to ask your firefighters, right?
Yeah, of course.
So Jared, what's one question I have not asked you that you wish I had asked you?
Man, didn't see that one coming. I don't know. They're good questions. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. You stumped me, I think. Maybe when's the next time I'm going to come visit BC? Maybe do a little skiing.
Nice. Good.
Yeah, I think hopefully soon. Maybe this next winter. If you guys, well, actually, you guys got snow, right? It was like no.
Well, we had a hailstorm that covered the ground, but that was about it. And not hail, like pea size, not even pea size, right. Small.
Yeah, you guys,
but yeah, we've been pretty much above freezing all winter. So
that's nuts.
Yeah,
I know you're like the new Florida.
Yeah,
sunny.
No, not quite. We don't have iguanas falling out of trees.
Yeah, falling out of trees and hitting people.
Yeah, no, we don't have that.
Yeah, South Florida, man. You never know.
Yeah, no doubt. So Jared, how can people find your book? How can they connect with you? What's the best options there?
The website, themodernfireofficer.com. You could reach out to me via email on that. The books are on there. The books are everywhere books are sold. The Audible for the new one should be coming out here in the next couple of days. So all three avenues, like Kindle or ebook, print and Audible, will be available. The Kindle or ebook and print is available, and then the Audible very soon. And then Amazon, all the places. And then I'm on LinkedIn, so reach out on there if you want to talk to me. And I'm reachable. That's my only form of social media. I'm a ghost otherwise. But yeah, I'd love for you to reach out. Tell me what you think of the book. You can yell at me if you want. I don't care. And tell me what you think.
I don't know if anyone will yell at you. I would be very shocked. Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jared, for sharing your wisdom once again, and honing in on some different aspects of leadership than your first book, right? So thanks for putting that out in the world. Thanks for putting both your books out in the world. They are going to make a difference in our future leadership. So thank you from all of us.
I hope so. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed this great episode and took some notes, because there's lots of nuggets in this. And be sure to check out The Modern Fire Officer, book 1 and 2. Great books to read. Great for the Firehouse library for sure. All right. Until next time, stay well. All right. That's a wrap.
Nice.
Thank you for tuning in to Beneath the Helmet. We hope that this podcast has provided you with valuable insights into the world of firefighters' health and wellness. Remember, caring for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being is crucial to achieving optimal performance. Join us next time on Beneath the Helmet for more inspiring conversations. Until then, stay well.